So, I've always said time plus relationships equals trust, right? And if we're relying on a woman to leave an abusive relationship, then she better trust you. And you better have effective support networks. Intersectional feminism to me is not about cis women anymore, cis white women. But we actually work together really well as a team. We've got a thing we do this, we go thug life. Yeah, that's our thing together, thug life. And they're all there. I remember this vividly. There's 1,000 of them 850 in that room. And it's all very polite clapping, right? And I got up on that stage and I said, you're here because this conference is about women in power, and yet you're being really polite and going like this. Fuck that shit. Where's all that fear coming from? There's 1,000 of you in this room. At least 500 of you have lived or are currently living in abusive relationships. 300 of you are living in toxic relationships. And 200 of you are living in a healthy relationship. Congratulations, well done. Because we don't know what that looks like in New Zealand. Privilege is an amazing thing. It's a wonderful thing, because then you can fucking use it. If you've got a platform or a lot of power or a lot of resources, how wonderful is that? Fucking use them. I mean, Jacinda Ardern does a great job, but it never goes far enough for me. I have always believed that Pākehā in this country walk on the backs of Māori women, and I believe that most sincerely. I don't have guilt about what my ancestors did. I don't have guilt about that for me, right? It's not about guilt. It's about recognition of what I can do to somewhat redress that imbalance, So that's what I'm doing. And she said something to me, to the lawyer, and I turned to her and I said, well, that was rape. And she looked back at me and she burst into tears and she said, how the fuck could I have been so stupid? I said, you weren't stupid. You just didn't recognise it for what it was at the time. And that's the difficulty, is that you can't do anything about it, because half the time you don't even fucking know it's happening.
You've been in this for how many years now? Do you think, have we gotten worse, better? Have we learned things from other countries? Are we learning?
In actual fact, the things that work are those things that come from Indigenous people. Mm-hmm. So I only work with Māori-led services. I only work with one organisation anymore that has a safe house. They do emergency housing because there has to be recognition as well that actually for a lot of women going into refuge, a safe house is about emergency housing. Mm-hmm. It's just an emergency house with 5 women and their kids living in it until they find alternative accommodation, right?
That doesn't seem like a preventative.
No. Well, no, because there isn't anything that prevents domestic violence, because we're human beings. You're not going to stop domestic violence. Yeah. It's as simple as that. We could make it better by tackling it. We're not even going to touch the problem until we actually look at the power structure. And the people who commit the most violence in this country towards women and gender minorities are cis white men. And they built the power structure. They uphold the power structure. And they and cis white women excuse, protect and defend that entire thing. So the judges, the lawyers, the police officers, the doctors, the professional white men, and Māori men, but it's mostly cis white men, that's who's doing the most damage. To their families and to those around them, and yet nobody goes near tackling that shit because it's just too hard. Because it's making them accountable for their bullshit. And the way the reason they get away with it, it's not that because people assume that physical violence is mostly a Māori Pacifica thing. You fuck off, no. No, it's not. It's occurring just as much in Remuera and Kandala and fucking Fendleton as it is anywhere else, right? But the police are never called, and so it's invisible. Mm-hmm. And it's visible to me because that was my story. And so hundreds and hundreds of women every year, white middle class women, contact me to tell me their story because I told them my story. through a magazine article. Yeah. That nothing changes in that person's life unless, and they have to be the one that stops it. They have to be the proactive person. Right? The victim. What the fuck is that about? Really upset. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional, but it's like somebody's in a controlling and abusive relationship and we expect them to know that it's bad for them. I spent my entire 28-year marriage believing that I had been the problem because that was what I was convinced I was. He never touched me physically, you know. Suddenly thinking the other day, I used to tell people, oh, we've got a difficult marriage, but it's okay because it suits us. It works for us. What the fuck? Because you come up with these excuses and you come up with this stuff, you know, because you're convinced that's what it is. And that's why people don't talk about it, because it's so shaming. It's so shaming. You feel so ashamed of yourself, how stupid you are.
Like in Kazakhstan, right? The violence is so in front of your face. People walk on the streets with black eyes. There is news articles of stabbing, of kidnapping, you know, and it's like...
Sounds like South Auckland.
You know, and it's like such a, oh, well, you know.
But in New Zealand, Indigenous domestic violence is very visible. There are huge amounts of Māori men who are in prison for male assaults female. But the police are also, they're hogtied by the law. Because the courts in this country, judges, I'm dealing with a woman right now. I mean, I've worked with her for quite a long time, and she married a white middle-class man. She's Samoan, and she was a lawyer, right? Very smart cookie. So they've just had 6 years of the relationship property stuff. That's not the custody stuff. And at the end, and this is a woman whose husband lives in St Helens in a very nice house with his new girlfriend, and she's living in a state house in Oraka, you know, and just like a little tiny shit state house. At the end, the judge looked at them both and said, I am disgusted by you both. You've dragged this out for 6 years. And I thought, because judges don't see the DV, wouldn't you fucking wonder why he's living in a flash house and she's living in a tiny fucking estate house? Wouldn't you want to fucking wonder why she's been homeschooling her children, why her children are writing notes about self-harming, right? Why her children don't want to go to their father at all? Wouldn't you understand what that's about if you're a judge? I've gone and talked to groups of lawyers. I've never gone to talk to groups of judges because they are a law unto themselves, right? She just texted me before and said, so a lawyer from a really big flashy law firm, because I got the hookups, right? Because in the process of looking for really good family lawyers, I made connections with several senior female partners of really flashy big firms in town, right? So one of them is a senior partner in a very, very, very august law firm. And so she's put this woman onto a lawyer who's not only represented her for free in court, he is now asking his firm if he can represent her and take it to the Court of Appeal. She said, I don't know if I can do that. And I said, you've got to believe in yourself. But more than that, he's showing you how much he believes in you. You know? And that's about a fuck-ass piece of shit who tried to control her and didn't hit her, never hit her once, but left her and her children without food on their table, night after night after night, would spend thousands of dollars in a hotel room when he got them made homeless. But he controlled all of that until she finally rang up Eastern Refuge. And they said, no, we'll come and get you.
You know, now when I was 16, 17, I started dating a guy in New Zealand, and we've had a incredibly abusive, and I was so young, so it felt like, well, surely when you were 17, can't get out of an abusive relationship. And then
Yeah.
surely, if I talk about this, people will think, what will I think of myself? And then and I stayed for a year and a half, and we had friends, we had people who were living in that house with us, we didn't know, and it was such a shame to think to myself that this is something that I put up with for so long,
and that's why you'll never stop it. And that's why even trying to stop it is probably useless. Because it's such a complex dynamic, because it's relationships. Relationships are incredibly complex. You know, and people say, why didn't she leave? And I go, well, if somebody walked into your relationship tomorrow and went, no, you've got to leave. Come on, out you go. Which is what we do to Māori women, by the way. SIFs do it, police do it, social workers do it, agencies do it all the fucking time. They walk into Māori women's, Indigenous women's relationships and go, this is terrible. The children have been damaged, you must leave. They don't never fucking do that to no white woman because they're not called. They don't, it doesn't exist as far as they're concerned, right? But if somebody walks into your relationship and goes, you must leave, and my best friend, who died 7 years ago, was always my plan B, because very early on in my marriage, and she regularly looked for bruises, and of course never found any because there was never any. About 3 of my friends used to, after he died, actually, my friend Sue said to me, I'm really sorry, darling, we never knew how bad it was. We always looked for bruises, but we could never see any, so we thought we were imagining things. And she always said, it just gets too much, and you leave him, you come and live with me. Come and live with me, darling. And I never did, And I think because relationships are so complex. And I think when you're groomed, we were just talking about this before, when you're groomed for abusive relationships, lots of people are groomed for abusive relationships because they've lived in it growing up. And it might not be him smashing her over. It might just be the way he speaks to her really disdainfully, And part of the problem with white middle class men, what happens when their wives do leave them or whatever, they use the family court, as they have in the case I was just telling you about, to perpetuate the violence. Yes. They perpetuate the violence, the psychological coercive control. I've been to mediation with her, shuttle mediation. So he's upstairs, she and I are downstairs, he's with his girlfriend, and he wouldn't start the mediation proper until she walked up there and was with him. No. And I looked at the mediator, who used to work in refuges, and I looked at her and I said, are you going to let this shit carry on? She goes, I'm just shuttling. That's why it's called shuttle mediation, because they shuttle backwards and forwards, right? And afterwards I said to her that this must be really fucking difficult for you, because you've worked in domestic violence. You know what he's doing. You know exactly what he's doing. And she said, yeah, it's tough. And the process is you have to go through mediation until it falls down, and then you can go to family court, right? So they drag these women who've been dragged through a fucking nuff through mediation because the children must see their father.
Yeah.
They don't say that about Māori men. The women say it. The women hold on to relationships much, much longer than needed or necessary because they've got this thing about, but the children should have a father. No, they fucking shouldn't. If the father's a destructive piece of shit, no. It's not about power games. It's about actually, my children deserve to be safe from you. Because you're a harmful piece of shit. The one I was just talking about, her son, he gets tummy aches and anxiety before he goes to see his father. And it's not supervised visitation, right? He comes home and says, I don't want to go back. His daughter, his own daughter, has utter fear. She's so fearful of him. And she writes notes about self-harming. And she's 10. When does a child having suicidal ideation not ring an alarm bell for a judge and who's actually goes, actually, it's probably best you don't see your father?
Do you have any hope or faith in government?
No.
Do you think we can do any big,
No.
No.
The short answer is no. Until they're ready to tackle the power structure and really clean out our halls of power, because that's what's required. There's an MP in power right now who allegations came out about sexual harassment, and one of them was around sexual assault. And he's still walking around the houses of power because that was swept under the carpet. You know, if the stat is about 50%, which it is, they say 30%, but that's physical abuse. If it's 50% of relationships are abusive in this country, of course there's people in Parliament who have been in abuse, women, and I know there are because they've contacted me, abusive relationships, and men who've been abusive or are abusive. So how do you expect to tackle that power structure when the people who uphold it, they've got no interest in letting go of power? Because that's the thing about power. People with power aren't going to let go of it, you know. And so, no, I don't have any faith in them at all. I don't care who's in government.
I know you're saying you work with people you work with women who heal.
Yeah, who are healing, yeah.
Who are healing, but, you know, there are, like, just through your work and just through your presence and just through such a, you know, you're affecting, like, freaking everyone through up and down and whichever way, like, what?
Well, that's their thing. That's not my thing. I've got no idea. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't know where your words land, and people come to me all the time. Sometimes people throw themselves at me in public. Yeah. The weirdest experience in the world is when you're in a cafe in Monaco, just getting a fucking sandwich or whatever. You don't know who I am, but I follow you on Facebook. Yeah. You know, I want to hug you. I go, okay, fine. It happens more often than I'm comfortable with.
How do you why do you think? How did you end up in this position? Because you were a kindergarten teacher, right?
Yeah.
Like how did
By
you?
accident.
By accident.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be.
No.
What did you think of yourself being when you were younger?
My father always said I was going to be an actress because when I was 4 years old, because I was quite dramatic. But the reality is that I've never been allowed to be who I was. I was always too much or not enough in my family and then in my marriage. And I didn't go into this to solve any of those problems. You know, I didn't go into that. I came into this accidentally. I mean, what it's turned into is very different from how it started, very different. I mean, when it started, I was, you know, with women like Julie at Mangani Refuge, just popping in there once a week because the staff had asked me to. Yeah, and it was them, that the staff at that refuge said to me, come and, actually the woman who ran it, who said, come in once a week and just chat to the women, because she very cleverly knew that if you connect the donors to the people who are getting it, you put some heart into it. It was quite a cynical thing. The Aunties is a very cynical name, and it's turned into, it really is the Aunties, but it wasn't originally. Originally, that was a very cynical name to get people to get warm, fuzzy feelings. So, you know, we're all in this together. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is, it happens, we all are now, but that was an accidental. It's all been very organic.
Stepping into this work, do you feel like this is something that, you know, like you're allowed to be who you are, allowing yourself to be who you are?
That came with my husband's death. Yeah. But I always, at the beginning of this work, what I quickly realised was the woman I was most comfortable with in my life with, the people I first felt most comfortable around were Māori women.
Why is that, by Māori women?
Because I've always been a bit jokey and a bit glib. And when I'm with Pākehā people, that's often regarded as awkward and saying the wrong thing. And I never said the wrong thing to them, because they always just took me for who I was. There was no judgment. They just always accepted me, you know, for who I was, and that was it, you know. And then when I started doing this and going to the refuge and sitting with a woman, I never felt more at home than when I was with them. That's who I felt most at home with. That's who I could be the essence of me with. I couldn't be it anywhere else. I was too much, not enough.
You know, with the resources like you were talking about, you know, like, I know I heard you speak about giving versus helping, and how you don't like the helping structure. You know, with people who want to help give because they can, because they have privilege, money, whatever.
Yeah. I distrust the help word. Because that's about you. It's not about other people. Helping people, empowering people. And most people in social professions will talk about helping people or empowering people. That's not about them. That's about you. That's about your jollies, right? My jollies are incidental. My whole, Cal said, what's your joy in life? Yeah. I went, are you fucking joking? My entire life is my joy. I say to Judy before, I told her about Cal asking that question. And I said to her, just the fact that you fuckers trust nobody and you trust me. It's my jollies. Right there, So nobody does anything completely altruistically. Let's not get that wrong, I'm not completely altruistic. I'm not doing this because I'm a kind person. I'm doing this because I have access to this resource and I've built this community of people and I happen to be really good at fucking getting money off people. I don't know why, but I am, right? I just distrust it. I distrust young people, young white women who talk about social justice. The fuck? Well, no, because I recognise that in myself, right? Because I did that in my 20s, right? I was a founding member of anti-racism movement at Auckland University and fucking ran not Legends Bar, what's it called? Shadows Bar for the fucking uni-femmes and all this bullshit in the 1980s, So I've always had a pretty big, I've stormed out of restaurants having arguments with my parents' friends about apartheid because I went on the Springbok tour in March and stuff. And that stuff's really harmful. It can be dangerous because that gives you a real sense of power. And that's not power that belongs to you or should belong to you. So I have a real difficulty with the helpy thing and the whole, because I get it a lot. Oh, you help so many people. And I don't do fuck or nothing. I live my life and I've got access to this resource and I encourage people to use the resource. And that's what it is. They are doing everything. I'm not doing anything. They're empowering themselves. They've got their own light. They've got their own power. And I ground up them. I've grown a couple of them who are they're quite given to gushing. A couple of them, not all of them. But a couple of them are like, oh my God, Auntie Jackie, and I just cry. And I find that really offensive. And I tell them, I find that really offensive because that's your power. It's not my power. Don't give me your power. I've got my own power. I'm pretty pragmatic about it. I live a very fucking nice life I live in a mortgage-free house. I don't need your fucking power. I have extraordinary amounts of privilege and power. And so, don't be giving yours away,
I've been told for a very long time in my life that there are people, if you want others to contribute to something, whether it's something like money, need money for something you want to donate or whatever, you have to find a nice way to talk to them about it.
No, you don't.
So they don't. And
no, you don't.
Yeah.
Be honest. Always be honest. If you're yourself and you're honest and you're raw and you're passionate and that passion comes through in the way you speak, that's why I've come as far as I have. I realised really quickly that you have the donors you wish to have. So if somebody's not going to suit you, you just tell them to fuck off. We aren't going to suit you. They're not going to give you money. Don't worry about it. Somebody else will.
You think over the years, did you get more hopeful about the change? Or
No.
Or less? Or just the same?
No. I'm under no illusions.
Okay.
I'm under no illusion. I don't need to be. People go, oh, how do you keep going? Don't you lose hope? Well, no, because I work with the most extraordinary group of women who have been, and it's not because I've been through shit, because I've also worked with women who've been through shit and turned out to be really unpleasant fuckers, right? So, everybody reacts to stuff really differently. Yeah. And these women who've gathered themselves around me in this Aunties whānau, I call the shiny fuckers because they're extraordinary human beings. They really are extraordinary human beings. They're extraordinary mothers, but more importantly, they're really they're resilient, they're determined, they're smart, they're articulate, which makes it sound like I've gone right. I'm not taking that person. It's not even about cherry picking. they've chosen to stick around, right? Because they are ready to love themselves, look after themselves, care about themselves, right? And so what you have as this group of people, why would I have no hope in life? What? Because they make me, I don't need hope. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would I need hope? But I go, I'm a heavy smoker, I've got maybe 20 years to live, so we better hurry up now. You know, get your shit together. Find your light, quickly. Stand in your power, hurry up.